So why do people lie in relationships? Why do people get into these relationships and speak as though they're saying the truth, as though they're telling the truth? They look you in the eye and they say a lie. Now, I know that I've had my own share of lies. They call them white lies, and I wrote that on the on the feed today, white lie. And I got some people made some comments about that, like it's racist. Well, it's not racist. I just say things the way I say things, and people take them the way they take them. I'm working my best, but I grew up in the hood. So, if I don't drop a bunch of F-bombs, I'm doing really good. But, when it comes to saying the truth and talking and saying lies, to me, I was hit hard by that one time when I was out having dinner with my mom. So let me tell you a little bit about the story. So I'm out. My mother lives in Mexico. She lives, down in Rosarito, and we're having dinner. And she has a bunch of her friends that are down there, and she's introducing me to all of her friends. And I'm telling us, they're asking about me. They say, Martin, so tell me a little bit about you. And I've got kind of a fun life, so I'm telling them about my life as a musician. And when I was young, and as I grew up, and as I grew as a musician, I grew up as a record producer, and then I had a record label. So I was telling this whole story, and I would say probably not 5 minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes into the story, it hit me that I was making a lot of this stuff up. Like, I didn't know where the truth ended and my lie started. This little, I don't know, caught a fish this big kind of thing, and I was too deep into it. So I just kept going on. I just kept telling my story. And on the way home, the restaurant is probably, I don't know, maybe 500-600 feet away from where my mom's house is. And so we're walking home. It's this cobblestone road, and we're walking home. And I remember my mom was on the left-hand side. And I look at my mom and I said, I was telling that story tonight, and I was making stuff up. I was kind of lying. And she looks at me and she says, Mijo, it's okay. Everybody lies. Everybody tells stories like that. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But it just wasn't right. It wasn't right for me. So during this time, I was reading this book. It's called The Warrior. It's called like The Warrior something, like the Warrior Black Book. And it's a book about men. It's about, really claiming your manhood, being your word, like, living in integrity, all that, the really cool stuff, the stuff that we all, want to be like. It's called The Warrior Black Book is actually what it's called. And it's actually called How to Master Art and the Science of Having It All. Because I want to have it all, don't you? So in the book, he talks about men, and, what he thinks he says is all men lie. And I was thinking about that when I got to the house, and she's got like a little room downstairs. So I went down to the room downstairs. I started to meditate. I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, and I just felt really like weird about that. Like I wasn't okay with the fact that I was telling a story and I was BSing, right? And that morning, I decided that I'm done telling lies. But I had to figure out like why I was telling that particular lie. So I went back and I said, like, what really happened in my life? And I was able to see what really happened and how I wanted myself to look good, how I wanted myself to look better than I was looking if I told the real story. So what I did is I started to tell people the real story. I said, listen, this is the story I've been saying for a long time, and this is really what happened. And what happened to me that, during like that month or so, is that I had like a tremendous amount of freedom. Like my life completely changed because I was being real. I was being real with what I was experiencing, what I had experienced. And I was just done. I was just done telling myself things. So what I wanted to do tonight is, and this is based on a conversation that I had with a buddy of mine, Armando, where he was telling me that a friend of his told him, I'm going to meet you, or I forgot I needed to call you. I'll call you. And he didn't, and then he didn't call him. And then when he spoke to him the next time, he was like, oh, dude, did you get my text message? And he's like, dude, you didn't text message me. You didn't do that. And like, how many times has it happened to us? How many times has a client said, or we said it to a client? It's happened many a times. And it's just got to stop, because a lie is a lie is a lie. And eventually what I've learned about myself is if I tell a lie to myself, eventually I'm going to start believing it. So I'm real interested in having a conversation with my three amazing guests, Jeff Kroll, Jessica Sanchez, and Lauren Michaels Harris. And I know you guys know a lot of these guys. So hey, welcome, people. How you doing?
Woohoo!
Hi
So
there.
I don't know if you guys got a chance to hear my story, but what happened to me that morning is I just decided to stop bullshitting, if you will, bottom line, right? And ever since then, everything's shifted. And I'm just curious, has anything ever happened to you like that? Have you ever had like any kind of moment like that where you just said, you know what, I'm just going to change the way I relate to my word, or I'm just going to be done lying, or maybe you didn't lie. I don't know. What about you, Lauren? Like,
And the silence goes
Yeah,
over.
it's always
It's
got
like
one
dun
to
dun dun
go.
dun dun.
Oh, yeah.
That-
Has that ever happened to me?
Yeah. Have you ever said like a little lie? Have you ever just kind of
Oh, there's no such thing. Lies don't come in pints, quarts, or gallons.
Tell me about that.
A lie is a lie is a lie. That's the first place you go wrong,
Mm-hmm.
thinking that you can bend the truth, or a little white lie. It's no different than being a pathological liar. It's the same thing, because you have to lay the truth down completely in order to pick up a bending or a little white one. Now it's not the truth, because you know why? The truth is the only thing in the universe that cannot be changed. It's the only thing that will never change or change on us.
Yeah. That's wonderful. I love that. That's really cool. I love the way we're saying that.
Well, it's the truth.
Yeah. Look at you.
Hey.
Here's my bell.
What do you think, Jeff? What do you think, Jessica? What are your thoughts around that?
We're all guilty of lying. I mean, we're all guilty of lying in some way or some form. So here, my name is Jessica. I am a liar. And let's get that out of the way. And but I have done what you said. I have made those changes in my life, or also those conscious awareness points within my life, in order not to lie. Or like how I love how Lauren put it: a lie is a lie is a lie. It doesn't matter if it's a little white lie. It doesn't matter if it's a big lie. It doesn't matter if it was somebody who like lied about cheating on someone. Whatever it is, a lie is a lie, and that carries a certain energy, right? And for me, with what I do, I don't want that negative energy necessarily either tarnishing what I am energetically, my soul, my heart, my mind, everything else. And I'll always go back to this when I was a little kid and remind you, I do come from this big Hispanic family. It's like my big fat Greek wedding. Martine's heard me say this before. Everyone's up in each other's business, and you can't get away with a lie too long. No. If you try to, Mr. I don't know who did it gets found out who Mr. I don't know is really quick in a family. But the thing is I always remember on Sesame Street, there was this song and they were talking about lying, and it says, tell one lie, it leads to another, right? And that's the energy, because yes, right? Yeah. And that's the thing that's always kept in my mind, even as a little girl, besides like the fear of my parents. Forget the fear of God. It was the fear of my parents for lying, maybe possibly, that you don't want to deal with, because telling the truth has a certain energy, but we get afraid to tell the truth. That's why we tell lies a lot of time. And it brings up our insecurities when we're insecure. But I always remember that. And if you tell one lie, it takes a lot of energy to maintain that lie. Ooh. And it takes a lot of energy as well to continue that lie or remember your lie and then create a new lie based on that to keep it going. So I'd rather not go down that lying road. I'd rather just be like what Lauren says and say, my name is Jessica. I'm a former liar. And I am here to tell the truth, right? And live that truth energy, right? So that's kind of like where,
I think that's where I landed. I landed that morning is, who was hurt? Nobody was hurt in the story, except I didn't know what my true story was. That was the problem. Like, I didn't know what was the real story. And when I unpacked it, the story was like, wow. I'd actually have to be vulnerable to tell that story.
Yeah.
You
know what I mean?
And I definitely agree with both Lauren and Jessica. It's like, I mean, we are, we all lie. There's no doubt about that, right? We all have these little things. And there's a point where you get to a point where you realize the more you do that, the harder it is in your life. And I think once you get conscious of how hard and difficult it is to manage all those little webs of lies that are out there, and get stuck in that to the point where, you just wipe it all away with water and it's clear. And now you've kind of got that clean slate to just go, okay, now no more webs, no more lies. It's time to, just be authentic. And then you can start to recognize, oh, there's that web again. There's that lie again, and you can start to clean that up immediately. Like, I mean, when you just recognize those little things, I think is crucial. And I think it was when I got into personal development where I started to really start to get conscious of all those little lies, because before I would think they're unconscious.
Mhm.
I think they come from, like, stem down from watching my parents or watching people around me as I was growing up and seeing them do certain things and thinking that's how life is, and then consciously start doing that for all my life until I started, taking on myself in personal development, where I think that's where, I could say, okay, I've got control of whether I'm going to throw that web or that lie out there or not. Yeah. And I can actually see it and go, wow, I just did that. I better retract that. I better, get that out of my space. Because if not, like Jessica was saying, you're just carrying all that stuff. And it's definitely difficult, right, to manage all of that. Like, well, this person I told this, and that person I told this, and this person, there's no way we can get together at a party because it would be just crazy. Because how am I going to manage this live? And then it becomes stressful and frustrating. And, I'm a Hispanic family too. And it's like, we got it together. You could tell who was lying, who was going to, because it got confusing, of what they each told each other. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's part of being human. I think it's just part of being human.
Yeah, like separate judgment from it, right? Let's separate the judgment from lying. Like, you're speaking something that's just not accurate. It's not true. And when I looked at what I was doing, I was trying to build a facade. It was all ego. I was trying to build a story. This is what it was. I was trying to get what came out of my mouth to impact the person that's across from me so that they would have the feeling about me that I want them to have about me. It's like, it was like manipulation like I'm trying to manipulate another person's mind by my story as though they're going to be impressed and they're going to think what I wanted them to think.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is, like, most of the time it could be either like avoiding embarrassment, so trying to look good, right? You just don't want that embarrassment. If I said this, and that if you said that, then they would think of you this way. So you avoid all of that. Other ways is just to kind of keep your own privacy and not let anyone know that, I think, is another key thing, right? Yeah. Like, I just want to keep that private to myself. I don't want to tell anyone. I'm not going to tell anyone that I'm a liar.
What's behind that? Like, let's unpack that. That's a really cool thing, Jeff. Yeah. Lauren's like, Lauren, I've heard your story. I still remember the first time I heard you speak on stage, and I've told people, like, your story, like, as much as I could tell it. Mm-hmm. And then, like, people just go, like, your story is insane. It's just like one of the craziest stories of life that I've ever heard. And like the level at which you say it so vulnerably. Was there a point where you weren't going to tell that story to anybody? Did you have a shift so that you went from, like, were you ever like, I'm never going to ever tell anybody this stuff, and then you just started? Okay, so what happened that you did that?
I got tired of the recurring dreams. Which is what Jeff was saying, except it wasn't a party. I had this for decades. I had the same reoccurring dream. I'd wake up with sweats and night terrors, and the dream was where every journey that I'd been, every mile marker, let's say, the journey between the mile markers, I'd be in the grocery store, and I'd get up to the conveyor belt. I'd be the only person there. And then every time I took something and put it on the belt, I looked over and there was somebody else from one of my paint strips, because that's how I was. I had so many different paint strips as far as my persona, with all these different shades of that pop color. And
Yeah.
my biggest fear was that all those people that knew, in the dream, I would look over my shoulder and there'd be somebody from church where, oh, he just sang a wonderful solo last Sunday. And then I'd look and I'd come back and look behind them. There's somebody I was getting high with the night before.
Wow.
And there were all these different things. And I could keep them separate in my waking world. But the great equalizer is the subconscious world, the other side of the veil. And it reached in and pulled me inside of it because it knew that I wasn't ever going to find it out here where I'm at, because for me, I learned that lying to others was basically practicing to be proficient at lying to myself.
That's brilliant.
And
that's,
wait,
stop. Don't go anywhere, because that's like, say that again. That's like,
that's what it was. I was getting proficient at it. I was cutting my teeth, getting my chops on other people, seeing how good I could be at it, because I felt like, wow, look at this, I'm so gullible, or whatever I was thinking.
Yeah.
But what I did not realize is that I was practicing to become a proficient liar to myself. Because like you said, I think you did, Martine, where you said, after a while, you start believing it yourself.
Yeah.
And it was a horrible path. And, growing up in the foster care system, where I felt I was justified as a kid to do that, to keep my secrets. And it followed me for decades. It literally followed me for decades. And it was the night when I woke up, just like I always did, straight up in bed, sweating. My bed was wet. I'd have to change the sheets. And I'll tell you this, it was when something, my disclaimer, I know what it is, but I say that because that's a word that deceives. It's not something. For me and my belief systems, it is source. It is my higher power. It is God. Basically just said to me, aren't you tired of this? If you stop, you have to put this down in order to pick something else up. Lies will fill all your pockets, all your drawers, all your cubby holes. Every drawer in your world will be a junk drawer. Every single one of them. There will not be anything that you can put your hand on definitively. Everything in your world is a junk drawer. And I was tired of it. And so I started the backing up process by starting with eradicating words that deceive from my own vocabulary. Saying things like, sure is weird. It's so strange how every time I think of you, you call me. You won't believe what just happened. I needed $20. I reached in the couch cushion and out of nowhere, oh my God, this pudding is as good as hell. All words that deceive. They're all things that lead you to believe something other than the truth. If you don't see the blessing
in our language, it's part of our language. Our language has that in it, and we use it, and we're blind to it.
Mine doesn't anymore.
Well, ours. I mean, the collective. I mean, you're part of us. So
sure.
You may, and that's what a leader is. That's why you are where you're at, because you're the light that we can go to have this conversation. But that conversation still exists in our language.
It does.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, and so I can wrap that part up, is when I stopped letting words that deceive work me over. That's why everybody knows me on my show stuff. When I do this, that's me giving notice. Don't get it twisted, words that deceive. I'm using you. You are not using me like you used to. So what I could not I never could identify them coming at me until I stopped them from coming from me. When I stopped using them and started dealing with only the truth, all of a sudden, when somebody tried to throw a word that deceived, well, you know what, Lauren? Just hold on. You'll find a way around it. You'll fit from underneath it. Oh, I'm sure you're going to get over this. That's wall talk. That's what you do to walls. Windows and doors are opportunities. I never heard of a wall of opportunity. When people tell you to get over, get under, go over, go around, that's wall talk. A window and a door are opportunities. Why? Because God knows if I can see through it, I will figure out how to get through it.
I love it. That's
love it. I'm smiling the whole time you're talking because I'm not laughing like in a bad way at you.
I already know, Jessica.
I'm laughing because I'm seeing your light. Like you are radiating. I'm like, I see his soul. I see his spirit. I'm tapping into like when you were talking about all that darkness, I can like energetically with what I do, right? With all the spiritual healing and wellness and energetically seeing that darkness that you were talking about that was there, but everything that you've cleared. So while you were talking, I'm just reveling in your beautiful light that you were sharing, in your truth that you were sharing in your power.
received
And
that.
I couldn't
Thank
help
you.
but like just smile like here the whole time because you have done that work and you are living in your truth. But it's beautiful because thank you for sharing that. And thank you for everyone else who's out there feeling this energy right now and feeling it within themselves. Because it doesn't matter how big our lie is, how little it is. It doesn't matter what lies we've been living.
Yeah.
To me, it can be something that can be like what people be like, that's not even a lie. That's like what you call a white lie. That's not anything else. But maybe to me, that was something huge, right? It's
Mhm.
all on our own grade. To
Yeah.
you, the story you're sharing with us, it's inspiring other people to walk into their own truth as well, to not be consumed by that negative energy. And that negative energy is what does build up within us to create those lies. And more so importantly, when we lie to other people, more than anything, we're lying to ourselves.
Mm.
Like we really are lying to ourselves. So we can't stand in our light. We can't stand in our power. We cannot stand in our truth. And we're not going to be successful emotionally, physically. We're not going to be successful in any which way. And then we have these huge energetic blockages until we come out like you had the power and you had the strength to come forward, Lauren, and say, this was my story, quote, 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 but you can't get me anymore. And now you have been protecting yourself against those energies. And I love you sharing that because it inspires the rest of us to do the same, protect our energies and protect what we are by standing in our truth.
Right.
I love it.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you for that. I totally receive it.
Absolutely. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to kind of talk around what you guys were saying, and I'd like to end up at you can't get me anymore. Like I want to end up there because like we can just say that like, hey, you know, this is where you got to be and nothing's going to affect you. But what I've found and the feedback that I've gotten for people that come and watch the show is that they like how we unpack things and then we get to something. So I think that would be like if we can leave people with anything, you can't get me anymore would be like the thing to leave. But let's get there. Let's get there. You know, I mean, Lauren got there quick, but I'd like to unpack and kind of go back around and go back around on that. Jeff, what do you have to say about what's going on?
As far as like how do you get to a space like that where
No, about what kind of more about the line and how you just lie to yourself and that whole thing, you know?
Yeah, I think the lying, I mean, it does a couple things. I think we're either I can look for myself, right? When lying was happening for me and when it shows up for me, it's always either to like avoid some sort of punishment. Like I think if I say this, I'm going to get punished or I'm going to get in trouble or I'm going to look bad. Or if I say this, I'll be protecting others, you know, so it's a good thing that I'm saying
justification.
This, which is more justification, right?
Yeah.
Or avoiding some sort of embarrassment like I talked about. I think those are just the main things that show there. But all of that like costs me something. And I think that's the thing that people don't recognize is, you know, if you're not conscious in what you're saying and how it's being landed on the other side for others, I mean, it costs a lot. It costs the intimacy in the relationship. You know, you can actually hurt them, you know, mentally, their self-esteem, your own personal self-esteem gets hit with that. I think, you know, the guilt, like Lauren was talking about, I mean, you could just keep piling all that stuff up like a backpack full of crap.
Yeah. Well, how about you? I mean, where did that, how did, like, you're talking about it like you, but I'm interested in, like not using you conversations, but using me conversations. I'm interested in how this has actually affected you, Jeff. Like what happened?
For me, it just, I mean, when I was clear that that all the different things that I was doing was piling up in lies like that, it just disgusted me. I mean, I think
you were living a life, and there were things you were saying, they were lies,
which was all around justification, you know, of me proving something for myself to look good. It was all about my ego. It was all about, you know, that sort of aspect. And until I started to unwind each of those and just recognize, hey, when I'm around my mom, I do this. When I'm around my brothers, I do this.
Yeah.
When I'm around my friends, I do this. You know, and really be truthful. When I had to be like authentic about every little thing that I did, and just kind of tell people, hey, Martine, when I'm around you, I do this, and I completely get how that may not connect our relationship, and I want you to know this is how I want our relationship to be. As soon as I started like being authentic with people and sharing that, whatever that was in the space of each individuals that I was around, primarily the main people I was around, that cleared up that just freed me up. It gave me tons of freedom and self-esteem and confidence and courage, that like nothing's going to stop me if I could just be vulnerable like that. And, it changed everything for my relationship. Like when I was totally vulnerable with people about, I really wanted to have a family. I really wanted the woman of my dreams. Everybody helped me out because I was so truthful about what I really wanted versus being fake about like, oh yeah, I've got this handled, I'm out there doing what I want to do, and just kind of doing it all on my own secretly versus being vulnerable and out there with people. I think everything just, like I said, I was free. I was free with all that by doing
I love that. So what I hear you saying is kind of like how I'm going to unpack that is life was going on the way it was going on. You had some kind of realization, like an awareness. And like, I'm going to put it in my own life. Like, so kind of like make it kind of together. Sure. So then I go, wow, kind of I can go down this path. This is kind of really the life I want. Nothing wrong with this life. This life is cool, but it's not going to probably get me the results I want. And now I've got to change what I'm saying, how I'm using words, and like Lauren, just the way he said it, like I can't even remember the words he used, but the phrases he's using, like it's good as hell or something, that just don't mean that, like they mean exactly not what you're saying. Like we literally speak to people and say exactly what we don't mean in language. Go ahead, say something about that, Lauren, because I loved how you were saying.
Well, I wanted to say this, that it's kind of a little, it's in here. We're unpacking. So, I think one of the aspects that so many people miss, I know I did, and I'm speaking from my own experience, is that it took me a long, 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 long time, but it was worth the wait. I'll say that, to understand that the truth demands patience.
Because
patience. The truth demands patience. In order to be able to live within truth and it be the first thing you go to, that you keep, that you take it, it's everywhere. It's in your glove compartment. It's in your pockets. It's under my head. It's in my heart. In order for it to fill my world as it is, it requires patience because purpose and patience run parallel.
They do.
Purpose, patience, passion, promise, all of them, they run parallel. And you have got to be patient to learn, understand what the truth. See, the reason I believe, for me personally, I avoided the truth for so long was because I didn't understand it, because it didn't look like a miracle. It didn't look like a blessing. But today, all the things that my Goldcast video has 14 million views. And how did it happen? It was the very first night I ever stood on the stage and told the truth. I didn't know when I was being abused that it would be viewed by over 14 million people one day. I didn't know when they were beating me and burning me with cigarettes that it was going to be a story to save millions of other kids from the same thing or change the mindset of someone who was doing it to a child. So I learned that patience, because a lot of people avoid the truth because it doesn't make sense at the time. But what you have to understand, that the truth is proof that there are no mistakes in this universe, only miracles and blessings that are becoming.
That's awesome.
And you have to be patient and allow them to become. And then you won't want to lie anymore. I told God back in my 20s, and I only had 2 relationships in my life, and I'm in my marriage is one of them. And I remember at 22 years old, I said, because I got tired of the lies to try to keep up appearances. And I said, I'll just be alone. I said, God, you know what? I'm telling you right here now, I would rather spend the rest of my life alone, or I want to spend the last 5 minutes of my life with my everything, and the whole all of my life with just anything. And around 42, 43, I was like, damn, you took me seriously, didn't you? You know what I mean? But it took one day. My husband, the day we locked eyes, I said 20 minutes later, I'm going to pursue you. And he's a therapist. He looks at me like, and I'm going to get you some help. Here we are. But nonetheless, here we are. But the thing about it was, I spoke my truth.
Yeah.
In the moment. And look what it did. You see? And so, and one other thing, and then I'm going to shut up for a second.
Yeah, no,
I'll tell you this. Because and Jeff, no offense, but it was very clear to me, because I know those words and I know what they will do. When you kept saying what I want, what I want, what I want. When I was lying, it was because what I want. That's why you had to lie. There's a huge chasm between need and want. If a person wanted to lose on the 1st of January, they say, my goal is to lose 20 pounds. I want to lose 20 pounds. Well, that's the person who gains 10. But if they say, I need to lose, when the doctor tells you you've got hypertension, you've got this, you need to lose 20 pounds to stay alive. Now that comes with a plan.
Yeah.
Wants are nothing more than wishes.
Yeah.
You can lie around a want, because you're going to keep changing it and forming it to make it
manipulate that. Yeah.
But if you need to not eat pork, if you need to not eat salt, you can't lie your way around that.
Yeah.
You're either going to die or you're going to live.
You're going to follow the plan, or you're going to go back over to the opposite side.
That's it. Boom.
Nice.
So when you are trying to evolve and you really want to make a difference, and say, okay, what do I need? Who has kids here? Raise your hands. Who has kids? Okay. Who has a kid in their family that they speak to? Nieces and nephews, anybody you love. If you see somebody going awry, you don't say, hey, come here, I want to talk to you. That's going to make them do this. But if you say, you know what, before you go, sit down. We need to talk. Changes everything.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I already know if I want to lose 20 pounds, that means I need to figure out how to shop better, because I need to cook better so that because I need to eat better to lose the 20 pounds that I want. So approach it from a place of need.
Love it.
Excellent.
And then you're going to have a plan.
Yeah.
And a plan is the truth.
I agree with like that. And I take it one different step as well. It's not that it's any better or any worse, but I take it in, I deserve. Because we, in the sense, in this world, we actually really don't need anything. And I'm not saying not to use the word need. I'm saying like we deserve, like at this point, if you're really truly living in your truth and you've done your internal work, guess what? It's your time for your rewards. And that's why we were all born here. It was so that we can be in our reward system. And what do we teach the kids? Go clean your room and I'll give you a cookie. Go put this away. You get a reward. And so if you want it and you need it as well, because you need it to fulfill you, you also deserve. So I really know that when we work for what we deserve, like if we know we deserve certain things, right? Because I completely agree with what you're saying, Lauren, but I just take it to that other reward point as well, because I know now, because I am who I am and I am what I am, and I know I stand in my truth, I am now understanding as well that I deserve these things as well. Yes. And when you know you deserve it, then you come up with that plan.
And the thing is, though, you got to be careful when you start looking at it from a place of deservingness, because it's very close to entitled. A lot of people become entitled.
I agree, but we're talking.
I know what you're saying.
100%.
I know what you're saying, but you're absolutely right, because I had in my notes over here, lying is truly proof of the lack of literal value.
Of what?
Literal value.
Yeah, literal
like
value.
She was saying, if you don't feel you deserve something, then it changes everything. And the reason I in my coaching program and in my life, I hold so close the promise of need is because I never want to forget that I need something greater than myself at all times.
I agree with that.
The whole truth, the nothing but the truth, so help me God, or whatever you want that last word to be. But it better be something other than yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, it better be something bigger than yourself.
I agree with that 100%. Yep, I agree with that 100%. And that's
I look for the question mark. People are afraid of questions. I don't know. If I know everything about something, I go the opposite direction because there's something wrong. How in the world, how in the hell am I supposed to know everything about me? Are you kidding? One of the dimmest light bulbs in there? No. I look for the question mark because in my world, that's proof that something greater than me is in there. The question mark means ask. That's what we're instructed. Ask and you'll receive. Seek and you'll find.
Yeah.
The question mark is proof, just like in your light bulb up here on the screen. Be curious. That's how you know you're in the right place. If you think you know it all, you're with somebody say, don't worry about that. I got this. Yeah. I know what I'm talking about. How many times have you been in the lockup or someplace going, damn it. I knew I shouldn't have listened to that stupid ass horoscope. Something told me. Follow your first mind. It's connected to the creator.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And
you know,
I
one
agree.
of the
And
things-
that's where that brings us back to not lying.
yeah.
Because when you follow that question mark, that really brings you back into saying, it's okay to say, I don't know. Let me follow that question mark. Let me follow my curiosity. That's that intuition, and that's that connection to source, God, spirit, whatever it is, that's
Whatever it
leading
is.
you to that truth. And when we ignore that truth, that's when we go back to those lies. And that's when we imply those lies upon others as well.
Yeah, and there's
Yeah, come on,
there's
I
no
know
growth
that.
in knowing. There's no growth in knowing.
Call me.
Yeah.
I mean,
You stopped.
if
Perfect.
you know, you stopped. You're done. There's
Stuck.
nothing. So
And
There's
that's why
what's-
so many people say they're stuck. But they're the ones sitting in the front row seat at a $3,000 event. And it's all, and the reason they're sitting there because they bought VIP so they could go to the dinner and talk about all they know.
Yeah.
They're not there
Exactly.
seeking, they're there to be seen.
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah.
They're there to sell something. They want to they want to pitch something to somebody. There's so many different reasons people go. What I would like to talk about, kind of what I loved about, you know, Lauren and Jessica's interaction is that you use the words that resonate for yourselves.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. And if I tie it into what you said at the beginning, Lauren, is you got real clear about like the words you're going to use and language you're going to use.
Mhm.
And you know what you mean by what you say.
Mhm.
Like for me, like I say what I mean and I mean what I say. There's no doubt about it. Now I might screw up what I say, but I'm going to say it like I mean it.
Well,
And I'm not looking to like dominate. I'm looking to be responsible. Like I'm responsible for what comes out of this mouth. Like it's my responsibility. And if I make a mistake, then I'll own those mistakes. And I own them all the time. And at the same time, I'm looking to say, how can I clean up the way I speak such that I can create miracles in the world? Like like what I say is clear and it causes action. It causes people to be curious, causes people to take a look at what's important. Like you said, curiosity, you know, that's what I'm about. Like that's my lane. And you were talking about, you know, I use the word lane, you know, like there's lanes and we go in our lane and there's no room for like, you know, lying in your own lane. You're just going to lie to yourself. And what's the cost of that? The cost of that is everything. It's everything. If you don't have truth, you've everything you have is basically false. It's just false. And even when you speak the truth, what's that built on? It's built on something. You know, can you count on yourself for your word? When you say you want something, can you count on yourself for your word? And I'd like to back up one step from all this. What's happening in people's lives that they don't even know that they're building their lives on something that they told themselves when they were in 3rd grade, 5th grade, 10th grade, when they were 20 years old, they told themselves a truth to them because it made sense. And now their life is built on that truth, which they believe is the truth, but it was a lie. They weren't screwed up. They weren't a bad child. You know what I mean? There's those kinds of lies that are in what I find and when I work with people, those are the lies that I'm looking for. Like, what is it that you told yourself when you were a child that is not true, but you still live it today?
And I'm not good enough.
That's one of them. Yeah.
Right now, you're just saying that. And my first thing that comes in is say, okay, accept forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Accept forgiveness and give forgiveness. Because honestly, right now, I'm living lies maybe that I didn't tell myself, but my parents, teachers, family, society said it. And I allowed myself to believe it. So therefore, I didn't think I was good enough. And that's kind of what you're talking about. So we have these energetic blockages, these emotional blockages, these different blockages that take us down a path in life. And it's not till later, sometimes in life, like Lauren said, and I love it, bring in the patience. The patience will help show you this story of unfolding. Then you can go ahead and accept that forgiveness for the lie that maybe you lived that it wasn't your lie, it was implied upon you by others, but give forgiveness too, because when you give that forgiveness for the lie that you lived and it wasn't necessarily your fault, it was implied upon you, we became oppressed because we allowed our mind to be oppressed by that lie that was told to us. I'm a great example. I'm an ND. I made it through medical school, but in 4th grade, I couldn't get higher than a D with my teacher. D as in Delta. Okay. And in 6th grade, I had another teacher the same way, but it was because of different things that happened. And I didn't realize, and here I am doing A+ work. I am freaked out. I'm over here studying after everyone's gone to bed, trying to do all this work. And I didn't realize it was because of jealousies that they had towards my parents. And here I am thinking I was not good enough. I still, because of my parents and my family, spurred on. And my mom didn't necessarily tell me that that was because of the teacher and her personal things towards them. She allowed me to still work through it. But here I was in my mind thinking I wasn't getting the high grades. And I felt like I was being a disgrace to my family and my hard work. Right.
Okay,
so
I'm going to unpack that. Because
yeah,
where's that? So when you start to take responsibility for yourself, like, where's that line? Like, where's that line? Like, where's that line? Like, where do you start to take response? Like, no, I understand.
Yep.
That wasn't your fault, but where do you, not just, I'm not saying you, Jessica, but you people that are listening, myself included, where do we let ourselves off the hook and say, because of that, I'm this, because of those things? Like, where's that fine line? And to me, I look to see where can I have something to say about that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where can I have a say in the matter? Like, this person did this because of my father, and then I got then I was a victim of that. Okay, great. I was a child, and as a child, I have no way to dominate a 35-year-old human being. There's no way. Physically, there's no way. And okay, am I now taking that incident into the rest of my life, and I'm replaying that incident? At some point, I'm responsible for the continuation of that conversation.
And
go ahead.
I think that comes. Go ahead, Lauren.
No, Jessica, go first.
I was just going to say, like, not just in my situation, but I noticed within a lot of people, a lot of my clients, and even being when I was doing medicine and I chose not to, of course, practice medicine. I think that really always comes into that self-awareness, right? And as soon as you're self-aware of the problem in the proper time and your proper place with that patience, like Lauren was saying earlier, and you can be in your authentic self, that's when you choose, are you the word, like Lauren said, do you need to be the victim, or do you need to live in a different pathway? And what we do is some of us make the choices, and I say we because we all do it. I've been there myself. Do I choose to be the victim? Because you use the word victim, and we do go into victim mentality sometimes, and we utilize that as our excuse and our crutch the rest of the time to say, well, I couldn't get any further. I couldn't go to medical school because my teachers, all I could do was give me a bad grade. So that's why I got a low grade. And then that's where my mindset came to think I could never do anything better than that teacher. There's a certain point. It's, do you choose to live that life? Don't blame the teacher from that. If you're at this point that you understand that, come into your responsibility. And that's where I think like forgiveness comes in. And even if you can't give forgiveness, then don't relive the same story. Learn to change the story. Learn to either leave the story behind or change the story so you're not recycling that same negativity. Instead, say, what do I deserve my path to be? What do I need it to be? Do I need to be victim, or do I need to be successful, powerful, and everything else that I want, need, and deserve? And then you choose that path.
But I'm not hearing forgiveness. You're using the word forgiveness, but I'm you know me, I'm critical when it comes to words. So you said forgiveness, but I didn't hear forgiveness in what you just said. It seemed to me like you said something and you affirmed something great. Where's the forgiveness that you just talked about? Like, how does that show up?
For me, the forgiveness comes for the fact of forgive myself, because like I didn't know what I was doing or why I was doing it, right? I forgive myself for any judgments once I came into my acknowledgement and my awareness, I forgave myself for any judgment or thoughts I might have had of teachers, parents, whatever, whoever it is, whatever situation in my life. I forgave myself. I also forgive them, because whatever they did, it was because whatever their reasons were behind it, we don't know their background. We don't know what was happening in their life, why they may have said something, projected something, or done something. And I'm not going to get into it. Because sometimes some people, they might have had abuse in their family,
Yeah.
And they did it. So I just forgive and move on. I don't have to like allow that energy to be there. Go ahead, Lauren.
Lauren,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm going to say, I get what he's saying about forgiveness. It's a loosely used term that a lot of people, I'm just going to say, I cry bullshit about it because I'm trying to, listening and reading and going to seminars for 40 years, and it still didn't work for me. Let me tell you what worked. Reinventing blame.
Oh,
That's
That's
what
a good
worked
one.
for me.
That's,
I
yeah.
reinvented blame. Instead of blaming my abusers that whispered in my ear, Lauren, you're never worthy of love. You're never going to be loved. This is as good as it gets for kids like you. I blame you for teaching me patience. You kept me alive when gay men were dying. Just like that every day from HIV and AIDS. You taught me patience and didn't even know it. So I blame you. I blame you for teaching me patience until I walked into the eyes and to the sight of my everything. And I thank you. Now, that's it. I never have to go back there again.
Mm.
Yeah.
You see, I blame a broken foster system for giving me a voice to stand before Congress and fight to get trash bags out of the hands of children 47 years after you put one in mine.
Mm.
I blame the system for giving me that voice. So thank you. And I'm going to tell you something, if it wasn't until I had reinvented blame that the victim thing just disappeared.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
even when I didn't want to be the victim, propaganda, media, some speaker, somebody else would always try to recreate, draw something around me that made me fit
Very true.
inside that
Their
mentality.
box. Yeah. Their box. Yeah.
But when I reinvented it, it's mine.
So
Love it.
Mine.
I'm gonna.
Yeah.
So what you're saying, and this is what the curiosity theory is all about. Exactly what happened. And I love how it's going. How you, Jessica and Lauren, you distinguish something. This is for me, and you build on that. And then, like, I'm learning from Jessica. Then I hear Lauren.
Yeah.
Like I just learned
Yeah.
that. Like I have forgiveness. There's really, really powerful. Now there's this version of.
Can I say one
Let me-
thing?
real quick.
One little thing.
Now there's this version of
can't lose it.
blame that's really powerful. Go ahead.
I just can't lose it. And Jessica, because I understand, I don't want you to think that I don't believe in forgiveness, but unfortunately,
yeah.
most people do this. That's what this box is all about. I use this when I train people about this or I explain it to them. A lot of people do this. They say that they've forgiven, but they put it in here, and then it's like in a relationship, how many times you said they
I'll
cheated,
get back to you on that
and
one.
then they said, 4 years later, wait a minute. Oh, so here we go again. This is exactly like June 5th, 1973, when you told me blah, blah, blah. And so if you forgave something, you whitewashed it. You can't read why is it in this box? You filed it
Yeah.
away until it was convenient to use
Yeah.
it again, which
Mhm.
means you kept it. Even when you didn't need it, you
Yeah.
had it. And everything in your world that possesses space, takes up space, is taking space of something else.
Yes.
And
And that
I
is-
agree.
That is your relationship with your word.
Yeah.
Like you forgive. Like if you have a strong relationship with what comes out of your mouth, with your word, and you will honor your word and you forgive, then there's no file cabinet. There's no little thing to pull anything out of. If you can redistinguish the word blame like you're doing and saying, listen, I'm going to use this word for something. I'm going to use the word blame for personal responsibility like you did. And you just say, listen, we're going to use these words for something greater than they were used in the past. Like if we use, I don't know, that's not my lane. It's not the thing I'm working on, but it's the thing that's out there. Let's say racism, right? Like what if that was redistinguished as something that was like, we're not going to use it for this. We're going to use it for this. Like maybe the way that we race together as people of different colors, as people of different cultures, like we're going to race to our own spiritual whatever enlightenment together. That's a racism that's worth redistinguishing. You know what I mean? Like we don't use the word for that anymore. We use it for this. Like you just did, Lauren. Like I don't use the word blame for that. Other people do, but you know what? In this mouth, in that mouth of yours, it don't mean that same thing.
No.
And if you're gonna play with Lauren, you got to know the words he's using, and that's what makes a powerful leader.
Well, and here's the thing: you also have to be, if you really, and that's another thing that doesn't happen with, oh, I forgive you thing a lot of the time with people. It's because they do on the outside, but they really don't on the inside. No one can see the difference.
Yeah.
But you have to be living in truth and staying away from lies. You have to be willing to be unpopular.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be willing to be lonely.
Mm.
Yes.
Because you know what? And the thing is if you understand that patience is running parallel to purpose and passion, then you can do that. Because
Yeah.
you're just waiting for you're waiting for your miracle and your blessing to become. And it will. I tell people every day, and I mean it, I would live every single moment of my life from just now all the way back to the womb over 1,000 times for 5 minutes of what I do for a living
Mm.
in being of service to others. For
Amen.
5 minutes, I would live it all 1,000 times. That's how good the wait is. It is definitely worth the wait.
I agree.
All right.
I agree.
Mhm.
And I agree with Lauren, because I like to, it's not for me and Lauren here when we say this or to look good. I think it's important for everyone else out here to understand. I agree with everything Lauren said as well about blame and how he's saying it. And like, when I say the word forgive, I'm not putting things in a box. And that's the essence of true forgiveness. Like, I don't put it in a box. When I truly get to that point and I'm living in my truth and I'm living in everything that I am, I'm not bringing up stories from the past. When I can really truly forgive, it's forgive and move on. Yes. And that's where my wish and desire is for everyone to actually get to that true forgiveness. But that's where you really, like, for me, the word is forgiveness, and change your story, right? Alchemize your story so that you're not living in that same cycle. So that if you are, though, when you utilize the word blame or whatever, you are now changing. And that's what Lauren did. He said, I'm getting the word blame and I am changing it to this. And you're living it with gratitude. You're saying, this was the story. This is what happened. But now let me tell you, thank you. Thank you for thank you teachers for letting me show other people that just because you get a D doesn't mean that you can't go become a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, amazing housewife. You don't have to have an education, a formal education to move on, but you can be an amazing you, and you don't have to let, like you said, those lies of previous that have put you down, nor your own lies that you start to live within. You don't have to allow all that to control you and control your path. Start to live your own path and your authentic truth and your authentic self, and out of the shadow of the lies.
And that is how you can't get me anymore. That's the point.
And you can't get me anymore with that.
Get me anymore.
Right.
Because I am what I say I am, and I do what I say I'm going to do. And this is the language I speak, and that's the thing. Language is so important that we understand what comes out of our mouth, and then we understand what happens in here.
And it's in here too.
And what's happening in here, absolutely.
And the conversation. I really encourage everybody to just have the conversation. Don't think your way into. You will never. Everybody that's a legend. None of them did anything by accident. You cannot live an accidental life. So you can't have an accidental mindset. Have the conversations. Be willing to be challenged. Be willing to open up and learn something and add this syllable to the syllable you already have. You can discuss. You know what? Sometimes when people say, "Oh, I don't know what to say about that," I say, "You know why? Because not every word has been invented yet."
Yes. Yeah.
If you don't say it, it won't be here. Somebody said, "Hey, this is clear." Somebody say, "Hey, this is water."
Yeah.
But if they'd have kept their mouth shut, we'd have been saying, "Ooh, or whatever." You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the thing is speak. Speak. Say what you're saying. And guess what? You're going to make mistakes. Own them.
That's right.
And you back up and you say, I didn't mean to say that. And it may take me a couple times to get it out. You want to help me out? You know, and that's what we're here for. That's right. I know that I listen to all three of you, and I learn from all three of you. I watch you guys on Facebook. I watch you guys, and we interact as often as we get to see each other, and always an amazing experience. I want to thank you for that. And before we close up, I'd like for you guys to let's kind of tell everybody what you guys are up to, how people can get a hold of you, because clearly you guys are all magnificent. So talk about what you guys are up to, what you do, and so people can get a hold of you, and they can, if they want to connect with you for coaching, for what you guys offer, let's do that. Start with Jeff. Jeff, what are you up to, bro?
Well, what I'm up to right now is I'm helping people find their soulmate. So I have a program called Find Your Soulmate in 120 days or less. So, I was fortunate to find mine in 120 days, and the people I've coached have even found them even faster. So I too have them deal with their past, get that all out of their way, and then live more of an intentional life towards what they desire in their life and what they truly are looking for in their life, which is, living their ideal life. So they can get a hold of me at jeffkrall.com is probably the easiest way, just like it's spelled on my name. And my whole program's called The Fifth Power.
Thank you. And you work with people that are in marriages already, that are in relationships, and help enhance those.
I can't help people in relationships as well, but primarily I'm looking for people that are single and really committed. Like they want that life partner, they want their soulmate, they want and I know want, right? There it is again. I'm learning these things, right? So that I got my lesson, but they really are like, that is their purpose. That is what, lightens them up in their life. And so, that's what I'm after, is really empowering people through that. And I didn't mention this earlier, but I think it's living an intentional life, and it's through whatever you say is your purpose. Mine is through integrity, fun, and happiness, that I empower myself as well as others to live an extraordinary life beyond our belief and live a life of endless possibilities. And that's everything to me. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to my friend or the person at the grocery store. It's about leaving that with them. So that's what I'm up to.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for sharing. Lauren.
Yeah. Well, you can reach me.
I love you, brother. Hey, I want you to know I love you. I
love you as well.
Yeah.
All of you. Thank you so much for having me here.
I love all you too.
LaurenMichaelsHarris.com is the best place to reach me, or to see what I'm up to. I contribute monthly to some magazines here stateside, Money Inc., and also Global Achievers Magazine in Australia. So I do that. I'm an associate producer for E360 Television, and I have the 2 shows there. And I create events. The Power of We Symposium, Discover the Author, Speaker, and You. There's like 4 or 5 different events. Some are local, most of them are not. And my thing is to help people in my coaching, message discovery, taking you back, helping you summon enough courage to look over your shoulder to the life you've already lived, to understand that your greatest content can always be found in the life you're currently living, or that life you've most recently lived. And again, that there are no mistakes, only miracles and blessings that are in the process of becoming. And I do believe that our greatest gold is found inside every teardrop, every pain, and everything that we once upon a time wished on someone else. And so I help people find that and do something with it. I believe that if you understand your purpose, no matter what, even if you fall down on purpose and you get back up with even more purpose. And so that makes everything work. So that's what I do. And if I can help anybody in any way, that's where you find me, LaurenMichaelsHarris.com.
Jessica, my love, how are you doing? Tell us about you.
I'm doing fabulous after this conversation. I think it's so empowering, igniting, and this is the kind of stuff that, it doesn't matter what time zone you're on. You want to stay up all night because the buzz from it, So thank you guys for this. Yeah. It's beautiful. And hopefully everyone else out there has had it. I am, as I said, an MD who decided not to practice traditional Western medicine. I do spiritual healing and wellness. I'm a multidimensional healer. So I work with people in different modalities, different formats, different ways as well. In formats of whether it be medium, medical medium, psychic, those kinds of things that everyone uses in a coin terminology, right? But I don't limit myself to one thing or another. I utilize whatever it is for each person, each individual, for their transformational journey and enlightening their circles within, their tools, taking them on their pathway, whether it be for business, whether it be for marriage, life, their own inner healing, right? Or physical healing as well. So we can get to those places like the rest of you here as well, so that we can all stand in our truth and stand in our own enlightened circles, but more so connect other enlightened circles together. So you can find me at enlightencircles.com and basically on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, it's there, LinkedIn, Enlightened Circles, enlightencircles.com is the best place. You can find the link to everything else. And I do go live. I was live right before the show, so I was like, gotta get off so I could get on, and I'll be on tomorrow. And
Thank you.
I love collaborating with different people as well with what we do, because Martin, what you do, Martin does here, you bring so many different people together and bring different values and different viewpoints, and it's so important. That's what we're all here to do. So thank you to you and everyone else who's a part of this.
Thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. What if we could have conversations? What if the people on the left talk to the people on the right with respect? What if they listened? What if they were curious? I think they would find more similarities than they would find differences.
Amen.
And in those differences, those things that they don't believe about each other, there's something about human beings that when we see something that's not like us, we help those people to get that which they want. It doesn't have to be about us, because it ceases being about us. And this is another beautiful human being that I've connected. So they want this. Let me see if I can assist them and get that. And we all win. Today we started, and that's what the curiosity theory is about. So the goal of the show, the Curiosity Theory Hangout, is that we have conversations with people that have different perspectives, that say things using different languages, that say things their way, and to see how beautiful they can dance together, and how it can build the same conversation that can have an impact on lives. And so what we're doing here is, this is actually, and I didn't tell you guys, but you guys are the first in a series of 3 conversations. So the first conversation is it's really about supporting people in living their word, like being a person of your word. And then what comes next is the moments that lead us into action. That's next week. We're gonna have moments that lead us into action. Like, what are those moments like that shifted you from I'm no longer going to live a lie. I'm no longer going to tell myself the things that I've been telling myself. I'm going to start telling myself a new reality and start creating a new reality. That doesn't end. There's always moments before action. So we got some amazing people that are going to be here next week, and we're going to talk about the moments before action. And then the third conversation is about being a hero to yourself and to the world. What would it be like to be a hero, not only for yourself, but for everybody out there? So I want to thank you for being the first part of the conversation. You want to say something about that, Lauren?
No, I'm like, what I do want to say though, is I want to challenge everybody. I wrote down tonight, somebody was telling me about, because I'm going on my annual fishing trip with my Air Force buddies to the Ozarks. And they, and somebody, have you seen that show, the Ozarks? And, and I said, no. He goes, don't you watch TV? I say, very seldom. and it's true. And I wish we would all share, if we have the conversation. I want to know about your show, Jessica. I want to know what you're doing, Jeff. I'd rather tell people about Martine and tune into this than something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm in television, so I really can't go too far with that.
Exactly.
Job, But I'm just saying, we really, really need to let people know we need to do better. Sharing, enlightened circles, fifth power formula, curiosity theory, and on with people, because this is what they need.
God bless.
This is what they need.
Very much. I just want to thank you guys. Brought so much goodness, and I can't even thank you guys enough. I love you guys. Thanks for hanging out, and thank you everybody for listening. And please connect with Lauren, with Jeff, with Jessica. A lot of friends that I have already have connected with Jessica. They love her to death. My mom's going to get a hold. She hasn't called you yet, huh? I'm going to get on that lady. So my mom.
And I want Jessica and Jeff. I want you both on my show as soon as I come back from vacation.
Enjoy.
Sounds great to me.
Find you both. And Martine, thank you for connecting me with these
Thanks for
people.
keeping it real, Martine. Thanks for keeping it real.
Thank you, man. This is